Yo, what's good, boys? We are back at it again with another MLB The Show 25 video for you guys, and today's video is going to be my top 10 must-have cards in the game. So anytime I'm streaming or just in my regular comments, I'll get a ton of people are like, should I go get this card? Is this card worth this value? Is stuff like that. So you will be able to refer to this video for kind of the cards I think everybody should be trying to get, or the cards that I think are most worthwhile to go out and either spend the stubs or the time to get them on. So if you guys enjoy the content, I would urge you to like and subscribe, and we will go ahead and get into it. So not gonna have Gil Hodges in here. Scott Rowland is a lot more attainable for most people. I don't think he's necessarily that great. He's cool, he's fine, but I don't even know if he's the best third baseman in the game anymore, so I don't know if he's worth it. And then for a lot of people, these live series collection cards just seem unattainable. So I'm not really going to say they're must-haves, because not everybody can drop 2.5 mil to finish the live series collection. So not going to include these cards. So first card I want to talk about, we've got some honorable mentions here. First card I want to talk about is this Brent Rooker. More of a DH, so DH is probably the easiest position to find people at. But you're looking at like 100 of every hitting stat with not the worst speed, like 66 speed in the outfield isn't great. I'd be more so worried about the 50 reaction and the common fielding. So that's kind of an issue. But when you look at his quirks, you've got first pitch, dead red, breaking ball. For me, those are like the three most important quirks you can have. And he's got them all, as well as he has a really good swing that a lot of people always tend to enjoy. So he's worth mentioning. He's not making the list, but he's worth mentioning. Next card up, we got Ben Joyce. A lot of people just have Lucas Urseg, so these are pretty similar cards in that regard. But this is like a free version of them. So if you don't have Urseg, or if you're trying to save some stubs in the bullpen, or if you just think Ben Joyce's like delivery's funkier and he'll be better for you, then I think he's a good Urseg alternative, but I wouldn't call him must-have. Next up, Moonshot Heimer Candelario. This card's cool. He kind of has a weird thing where, like, do you really play him at third with the 60 fielding and 60 reaction and 60 arm? Maybe, maybe not. His best spot probably is first base, but a lot of people already have first baseman that they like. So is this card really worth 150, 170K? Doesn't have the craziest quirks in the world. Doesn't have the craziest swing, but he's also a switch hitter. You can see he hasn't done great for me. I believe these are all ranked games on Legend or Hall of Fame difficulty, so take it with a grain of salt. But he just hasn't really been getting along great for me, so I can't really recommend him at 150K for a card I personally have not done very well with, and defensively he's pretty deficient. Next card, JT Realmuto. Nothing wrong with this card. Super well balanced catcher, doesn't really do anything great other than be fast for a catcher. But he always has a nice swing that a lot of people enjoy. He's got catcher pop time, which is already going to make him probably one of the better defensive catchers in the game. And he's just solid. He's a solid all-arounder, but I have another catcher on this list that I think is more worth it. So he just kind of goes to honorable mentions and kind of gets looked over. Final honorable mention card that I had to include is this Adolis. Like, for a free card, this is a really good card. I probably wouldn't run him in center field, but you put him in a secondary with like 80 reaction, 99 arm, and like right field, 73 speed. This is pretty similar to like the chase card Acuna that we just got, and it's a free card that everybody can have. Doesn't really have any quirks, but neither does Acuna really. So this is a really solid free card, and he's just barely missing out on the list. So our first actual card, come over to switch hitters here. And where's he at? He's right here. All right, so I think this Bernie Boss, it's not the best card in the world because he's pretty limited against righties. You're pretty much going to have to hit a perfect to hit a home run against righties, but he fits really good in the meta because you're seeing a lot of like Valenzuela, Randy Johnson, John Donaldson, Al Leiter, etc. There's a lot of really good lefties, so there's a good chance when you start him you're going to be seeing a lefty anyway, as well as the card's like 20K. For 20K, you're going to be hard pressed to find a better like left fielder, right fielder. you are going to have to run him out of position. So there's always going to be like a very small chance that he just drops a fly ball. But I think it's worth it for the bat and just have that premium switch hitter that destroys lefties when lefties are some of the better pitchers in the game right now. So I think Bernie's worth mentioning at number 10. It's not like a strong inclusion. And if you wanted to put any of the honorable mentions on here over Bernie, I wouldn't hate it. Next card up, we're going to go talk about the catchers. So like unanimous best catchers in the game, right, is like Carlos, Jorge, Yasmani, Mike Piazza getting glanced over. Maybe you like the new keeper card. He's all right. He's fine. He likes power for me. I'd rather use Mike Piazza. So this is kind of what I was hinting at with Real Muto, where Real Muto's cool. He's fine. Piazza's just better. Like, you look at these hitting stats, they're honestly pretty nuts. And then quirks-wise, he has dead red first pitch and some other quirks that you may care about, may not care about. But Piazza's an absolute stud. I think his swing was better last year than it's ever been. I think it's even better this year than it's ever been. So I'm a big fan of this card. I think he's super solid. Is he worth 25K? Probably. Is he going to be cheaper than that as the multiplayer program progresses and more people get him? Absolutely. If this card's like 10, 15K, what a steal. You're talking about a borderline like top 3 catcher in the game. He's probably number 4 or number 5. But to be able to get a catcher that's at least similar in quality to like Santana, Posada, Grandal, for like 10, 15K probably in a couple days, super solid. Nothing wrong with this Piazza card. I think he's really good value. Next up, we're going to go to a card that a lot of you probably know all too well. Santander. He's relatively cheap to lock in for right now. Some of the old new thread cards are a little bit, like I think like Tyler O'Neill's still like 8K or something just because he's not pulled that frequently anymore. And most people have already kind of got like the guaranteed new threads packs from like Conquest and stuff. But over time, if you really want to, you could just pick like the new threads pack every time you kind of get one of those choices, and you would eventually get them just by doing that. I'm sure everybody's ran through that program. You can see 52,000 people have got this card super factored. That's got to be like one of the higher numbers in the game so far. But he's an absolute stud. Like, his contact is getting a little low, but the Blue Jays just got Jeff Hoffman as a captain, which I think is really usable to run. So if you run Santander or Hoffman, maybe like a Yimi Garcia in the bullpen, and then just 1 or 2 bench pieces, you've got at least that Blue Jays boost on tier 1. Maybe you combine it with Rory Halladay, probably not. But Santander has just got one of the best swings in the game, and he's a switch hitter, and he's got pretty good quirks as well. You can see breaking ball, rally monkey, bad ball hitter. So really solid here, has a ton of positional versatility, plays a decent enough left, can play first, can play right if you have to work him in at right field. So he's an absolute stud and really worth every penny. So I think he's just one of the better like bang for your buck cards that you can go get. He is kind of falling behind like Heimer and stuff. If you're playing him at first, probably is better at this point. But he's never going to be bad just by nature of the card. Next up, we have our first pitcher of the list. Don't love including like pitchers in these, but when they're this good, you kind of have to. So Dustin May, free card from a program. The hits are probably falling a little bit behind. I feel like you want starters with like 95, 100 hits more now than when this Dustin May came out. But his pitching clutch kind of offsets that a little bit. And just the fact that he's disgusting. Like, his release is glitched. The ball warps out of his hand. He has an outlier sinker. He maxes out on his four seam very often at like 101, 102, even without outlier. And if you end up on a janky server against this guy, you're cooked. So he's an absolute stud. His program's a little annoying because you just have to like use like pitchers that you might not would always use. But you'll get him eventually for sure. You just run through all the moments, do some of the program stuff, like use lefty starters and relief pitchers and stuff like that. And it's a pretty straightforward card to get. And for that like effort that's involved, I think he's insane. He fits in, I think, every best rotation in the game. And he's just super glitchy, super worth it. The speed differentials aren't great, but he's okay on All-Star. He's pretty good on Hall of Fame. He's really good on Legend, and every pitcher's good on GOAT. So Dustin May pretty much is in every best rotation in the game. So I think he's really solid. All right, our next card here is going to be another new card, Jasson Dominguez. I don't think anybody's surprised about this. This card's an absolute stud. He destroys right-handed pitching. 110, 99. I almost have him super fractured. 110 clutch. The only thing for this card that I absolutely hate is the defense is kind of suspect. 75 speed, 70 reaction. I think he has a silver shield in left field, but he plays a worse left field for me than Santander. I don't know why it's like that, but he just has routinely been selling me, but his bat is just so worth it that it doesn't really matter, honestly. And he's got a pretty good swing, not my favorite swing in the world, but he's also got a small strike zone, so if you enjoy those small strike zone players like Joe Morgan, J Ram, Mookie Betts, people like that, he also has that going for him. So there's a ton to love about this Jasson Dominguez card. He's a free card you can get in 45 hour 20 worth of grinding, and doesn't even have to be focus grinding. You can be knocking out conquest maps and stuff. So for the effort you put in to get this card, he's an absolute monster, and has an argument to be one of the better free cards that we've gotten all year. Next up, another free card that we got recently, Brian Roberts. Prior to him, Cattell was pretty much everybody's second baseman. Cattell, Chase Utley, Kipnis, something like that. This card knocks basically all of those out of the water. I think Cattell's the only one that was comparable because they're both switch hitters, but B-Rob has really good contacts, insane power, especially for a Brian Roberts card. 97 clutch. Doesn't play the best defense, but when you put him at second base, you're not really expecting crazy defense. And he's not slow. So there's a lot to like about this card. I don't love his swing. It's not my favorite swing in the world, but when you also have Dead Red mixed with a lot of these stats, and then all the other second basemen kind of got worse, or at least Cattell did, Lindor did, a lot of guys that people were running at second base got worse. Brian Roberts' value just skyrockets, especially because it's a relatively short program. I think we're still in the Moonshot event, so just go run Moonshot event, play 2-3 games of it, and you'll probably be a lot of the way through this program pretty quickly. Or you can go do the mini season. You can't use all the players in the mini season, but you can still make a decent amount of progress. So he's an absolute stud and definitely worth going out your way to grind the program for. All right, we are now in our top 4 here, and this next one is going to be this George Springer card. So one of the more expensive cards we've talked about right now, but 95 contact left, 90 against righties. That's pretty good until you get on Legend, GOAT. That's going to be more than serviceable at this point. And then you're looking at more or less an average of about 100 power with pretty decent vision, okay clutch, and really good fielding. The reaction isn't quite there, so it's a little scary. But when you look at this card as a right fielder, he's probably a little bit slow to be a center fielder, but super comparable stats to this Acuna that is 300K. So I think he's really solid in right there. I mean, none of these other guys are even really comparable. I feel like everybody's looking for a right fielder right now. Other than that, you've got a bunch of DH caliber guys. Santander, Manny Ramirez, some really outdated-ish cards. So if you're looking at just value-wise, Adolis Garcia, George Springer, could be a lot of people's outfield right now. Even this Byron card, right? You have to spend a obnoxious amount to unlock this Byron card. When you look at him and Springer and just kind of compare their wheels back and forth, is that really worth a difference of, I would think Byron's at least 300K to lock in for right now. I don't know the exact amount, but I would think he's at least that. Is he worth 140, 240,000 stub difference over running this George Springer card, who also has, he has Dead Red. He doesn't have some of the most insane quirks in the game like Byron does. But when you compare him to like the new Byron, to the new Acuna that just came out, it just makes this card like an insane value card. At like 50,000, 60,000 subs, I think you can't go wrong with Springer. So we are now in our top 3, and we've got a new entrant. I've been pretty like low on this card throughout the year. I haven't used him nearly as much as some other people have. But with the new roster update, I think J-Ram's probably the best third baseman in the game. I think he's better than Scott Rowland. I think he is better than Chase Headley, who, you know, he already had an argument to be better than. I think J-Ram's probably the best third baseman in the game. You look at him, 80 contact right, which a lot of people say that's low, but that's actually higher than what it was. And, you know, a lot of people were running Marte, and if Marte wasn't getting a boost at Superfractored with the Justin Martinez boost, you were talking about like 79 contact. So you're looking more or less in that area. J-Ram already has a really good swing that a lot of people enjoy. He's got the small strike zone, and he absolutely mashes lefties. So on an ideal day where he's playing up like plus 10, plus 15 even against righties, or if you're combining that with the Guardians boost, this card's crazy. The roster update also gave him like plus 10 clutch, which took him from like low 90s clutch to like 98, which makes him more in line with cards like Chase Headley. The only problem really is the defense, but you're also swapping a lot of the defense for a lot more speed when you compare him to like Headley or Scott Rowland. So really, really solid card. He did go up in price a little bit, but that's more or less where he's been already. So just a super easy team captain to run right now, to boost him with, and just being, I think, head and shoulders above most of the other third basemen right now, makes him a must-have card for most people. All right, number 2. So we're getting towards the end here. And we have our second pitcher. And I'm sorry to everyone for this, but it's John Donaldson. So if you don't have John Donaldson, you're kind of throwing, because he's a free card now. I feel like a lot of people don't know that. But I don't know if you still need to have Satchel or not. But if you just go run all the storylines, run the Conquest map, run the like storylines or Jackie Robinson Showdown. I think it's the Jackie Robinson Showdown. Twice, get those 4 cards. He's a completely free card, and he's probably the best, if not the second best pitcher in the game. It kind of depends on what difficulty you're on. If you would rather have Clemens like higher hits, or just John's better pitch mix. But John's been that guy since like MLB 23 when he first came out. He's still that guy. Has one of the bigger speed differentials in the game, going from like 104 mile an hour four seam and like a 97, 98 mile an hour slider down to like a 78 mile an hour forkball sometimes. So just an insane like stud card. If he didn't have 99 home run through 9, I don't even want to think about how good this card would be. But as far as a free card is concerned, this is like an ace. If you can go get him and Dustin May, for a lot of teams, those are going to be like the most easily obtainable aces, because I think Randy's like 250k now, and then Clemens obviously you have to have the AL. So if you want to keep up with a lot of the God squads, you pretty much have to have John Donaldson and Dustin May. So I think it's fitting that they're both on this list. And then our number one card is Willi Castro. I don't think this is like groundbreaking to anybody, but I think there's a lot of people out there that don't think this card's worth 300, 400k. Maybe not. That is a ton to spend on this card. And he was like 250k before the last roster update, and a bunch of people cashed out on their investments and the market just shot up. But recently Superfractored for me, and look at this card Superfractored. 121, 125, 91, 88, maxed out clutch, decent enough fielding with 86 speed. This card is genuinely insane. Doesn't have the craziest quirks in the world, but I'm gonna pop some people's bubbles on the quirks. That Ellie De La Cruz from MLB 23 had no quirks. That was like Ellie's rookie year, and they don't usually give rookies quirks. So that Ellie cycle card that a lot of people say is the best shortstop ever in the game did not have quirks. Willi Castro also doesn't. I don't think his gold at the start of last year that a lot of people loved had quirks either. This card is literally insane. It reminds me of like the finest like Xavier Edwards, I think, that we got like last year in some event reward or something. Like, this is basically a finest card. You're basically pre-ordering a finest card here for like 400k. If this card was a 99, I want you to ask yourself what would be different on it. Like, maybe probably just max contact, like maybe 5 more power. He'd probably have gold fielding with slightly better reaction, and then stealing would probably be higher than 5. But this is basically a finest card. So when people ask me if he's really worth this price, I say absolutely, because this can legit be your shortstop for the next 3 months. Could be Willi Castro. So I think he's good at shortstop. He's made some really impressive plays for me at shortstop. He seems to almost always get blue reactions, which is crazy. But he's also really serviceable at third base. He's probably also the best third baseman in the game. He's probably better than J-Ram, better than Headley, better than Scott Rowland, all of those guys. And you could play him at second base. If you play, let's go to my lineup real quick. If you play this card at second base, you're still looking at 64, 69, 72, which is just pretty much like running Jorge Polanco's Easter card, which a lot of people still run. So he can be in your lineup for a super long time at short, at third, at second. He's just an absolute monster of a card, and I think he's the #1 must-have card. I think, the pay-to-win allegations with him are pretty valid because of how good that card is. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully this kind of gives you a sense of direction and kind of what cards are worth going out and getting. If you've already got all of these cards, you're probably hooping. You probably have a really good team. And if you don't, you've got some catching up to do. But until next time, guys, hopefully you enjoyed. Peace.